Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be discussing a topic that directly relates to the first section of the eAssessment, which is formulating research questions. However, this is also a skill that comes up throughout the MYP humanities courses, so it is relevant in regular classwork as well, and that is formulating research questions. These are the two situations that you're going to really need them, right? Which is during the required once yearly investigation in MYP INS. So every course of study should have an investigation as part of one of their units in the year. And anytime that criteria B1 is being assessed, which is also in that first section of the INS eAssessments, the integrated humanities eAssessments, you'll get that criteria B1 being assessed. And that specifically, if you look at it, mentions the formulation of a research question. So what is a good research question? This is a pretty easy question to answer because the mark scheme is the same every single year, that the research question must be clear and it must be focused. This is just a 2-mark question on the exam, but consistently students score just 1 mark instead of 2 for missing out on one of these 2 factors. So for it to be clear, it has to be related to the topic of the research. So within the exam, you're given a topic and you create a question on that topic. So it has to clearly relate. And one point that a lot of students do mess up is grammatically, it also has to be clear. A lot of students formulate questions that aren't understandable, not because of the topic, but because of the way it's actually phrased. Then we have the requirement to be focused. And the easiest way I find to describe this to my students is that we must have our topic constrained by a time, a place, or a space. It's just a coincidence that that's also a global context. A time, so bind the question in a time frame, bind the question in a specific geographic place, or a space, like an event or something that has happened. I'm going to show you some examples in a moment of questions, good ones and not so good ones, and you'll see what I mean about this boundaries to promote focus. Now, in the eAssessment, you'll first be asked to create a research question based on a statement of inquiry. You have to make sure that it's very directly related, like I said. You can't just rephrase the statement of inquiry. You will get 0 marks if you just rephrase the statement to turn it into a question. Has to be a question that's a derivative of that. It can't just be a rephrasing. And don't be afraid to get very specific, right? You don't actually have to answer your question. So you can make a very specific, very niche topic as long as it relates to that statement of inquiry. They make the statement of inquiry broad on purpose to allow you to do that. Now, here is a statement of inquiry that was on a recent eAssessment. It's just industrialization has changed lives around the world. Here again, we have a series of questions that are good and bad. If you want to have a go at guessing which are good and which are bad, pause and then play to hear my explanation. All right, number 1. How has industrialization changed lives around the world? This, if you didn't notice it, is just a rephrasing of the statement of inquiry. That's a 0 out of 2 right there. Will not be credited with a mark. Number 2, to what extent has the digital revolution changed people's lives? This is actually could be credited for clear. It does. It's a relationship to the idea of industrialization, the digital period of industrialization. But notice the period of industrialization was not specified in the SOI. However, it's not focused. It doesn't have that time, place, or space that I mentioned. Number 3, how has industrialization in the consumer electronics sector improved the lives of workers in Shenzhen, China? This is a great example. This, we get 2 marks right here. We have a clear relationship to industrialization, and we have a place, a specific place we're looking at. A year might be good here as well, but a place is enough. Number 4, I think, is again a great example. To what extent did industrial machinery help farmers in the UK increase crop yields during the 18th century? 2 marks. And you can see, very specific. Like I said, don't be afraid to do that. So I'm going to move away from the research question here to just talk about the questions that actually follow it, because it's a series of questions that all follow on from that question that is to create a research question. So next, you're often asked to identify people or sources that you could use in your investigation, or identify some suitable types of information. For this reason, you should try to make a research question that you have at least some basic knowledge of, because those follow-up questions directly relate to your response in that question. And so you just need to make sure that you know enough that you can come up with some potential sources and types of information that would help you in that investigation. So, key takeaways, keeping it nice and short for you today, because it is, at the end of the day, just a 2-mark question. Be clear, be focused, choose a topic that's related to the SOI that you are familiar with. Do not just rephrase the SOI, and go ahead and be as specific as you like, because you do not have to answer the question. At maximum, you have to just suggest some places where you could find information that would help you answer it. I hope that was helpful for you if you're taking the Integrated Humanities eAssessment or any of the eAssessments in the humanities, as this is a very typical question that does come up. If you have further questions, put them down in the comments and I'll either respond, or maybe it will be such a juicy question that it requires its own video to answer. Thank you very much.